Peace and welcome back. My name is Omar and today I would like to talk a little bit about the subject of the elite. The whole subject of the elite. So who are the elite and eventually how do you warn the elite? Because when you're in the so-called Quran alone movement, when you watch Sam Garrett's videos, you always hear that. You always hear about the Quranic method of overthrowing tyranny and that we have to warn the elite, and after that the world ends, everything ends, because it will be the day of judgment. And probably as many of you, I was wondering, well, first of all, who is the elite? Who are they? How can we identify them? What is their goal, and what is warning in the end? What does it mean? I mean, you can watch all the videos of the God Protocol and Sam trying to explain that. But in the end, you are just sitting there and thinking, well, I don't understand it. I don't understand. And I want to give a little bit of my perspective here. Like, as I received, or as I understood from Sam's perspective, there are characteristic sins. And those sins are the characteristics of an evil civilization, an evil society. And if we criticize the elite for those sins, they will get eventually destroyed. But I never had the impression that it was enough, that it was like clear. Like, alright, you read in the Quran all those instances where it happened, but when I read them, it's not really a big deal for me. Like, I see, well, okay, Lut had the Sodomites, and Saleh, there were like this animal brutality. This is also a thing I don't really understand with Saleh, because they just they slaughtered the cow, and that's it. Like, I didn't get the point of how all those characteristics are applicable to our modern world. Because I live in Germany, and I don't have to participate in those actions, and I'm relatively free. I can live a normal life, and criticizing anybody for that will not matter at all, because most people do that already. So, and it is also not worldwide spread. There are a lot of countries who are not yet under the full control of the elite, who are just who are developing. There are also a lot of tribes in the forests and in the jungles who have never been contacted before. So there are some countries, of course, who are like New World Order like, but it doesn't make sense to say that it is a worldwide phenomenon, because it is not. And that's the problem I had with understanding this whole method, because I don't think that it will make any sense to criticize them now, because they already get criticized by that, and it is nothing it is not complete. It is not completed. So, how can God destroy the whole world with the day of judgment when it is not worldwide? You know what I mean? Like, this was just the impression I had, like listening to all that and trying to understand it, just from the videos, just from the God Protocol and so on and so forth. And I watched every Sam Gerrans video, and a lot of times, and it is like, it was always a big something that there was something that was missing. It was something that didn't make sense. So, I want to go back to the point of Saleh, where Sam connected the killing of the cow, the brutally slaughtering of the cow, with the animal industry of today and with the meat consumption of today. But I cannot relate. I cannot equal those two things as the same. The one is, why did they kill it in the first place? They didn't kill it because they wanted the flesh and they wanted to eat it, because that's what happened. What happens now with all those animals? They don't get slaughtered because they want to, because they make profit out of it, and they have their reasons why they do it. Of course, it is to make everybody fat and unhealthy and get ill and everything, but doesn't make sense to me to say, oh well, animal cruelty is the reason why the civilization of Saleh got destroyed by God. And there is the next point, and the next point is the cause of destruction. The main cause of destruction of those civilizations aren't the sins as of their own, but is the reason is the opposition and the disbelief to God. This is the main point, and all of those so-called characteristic sins are just the fruits from that, where you can identify a ruler who is opposing God and who is evil. And I think maybe I'm just too ignorant, or I'm just not aware of that. But you are, when you just take Sam's word for it, you will tap in the darkness, because you have to gain some perspective. And we are not living in the New World Order, not now. Because how does the New World Order look like? How will it look like? Like the society? What kind of, when you have all the people, when you try to symbolize it in any kind of way, how would it look like? Because now it's kind of decentralized. You have a lot of institutions, and it is when you ask people who has the power and who has the worldly power or the spiritual power, everybody is going to say something different. And it doesn't matter now if you say, well, God alone is the only one who rules and is the only one who you have to submit to, because if you don't, you will go to hell. It doesn't matter if you say those words, but we know from the Quran that there is going to be a time when it matters. So when you are just believer and you just say that, you will get oppressed, you will get killed, because you say, I believe in the God alone, in God alone, and the Quran is the word of God. But we don't live in that time. Not yet. Not yet. But, as we can observe, everything is pointing towards that. Everything is in this evolution of going to that point in time where that matters. And we just have to look at the society of Musa. And we have to look at the structure of Musa. And it is very easy because the guy at the top was Firaun, or the Pharaoh. And he claimed that he was God. Also did the one Ibrahim confronted. And my guess is that in every other civilization where a prophet warned, there was one man at the very top, and he was the God King. He had the spiritual power of this world, of their civilization, and he had the worldly power. But what we have now is we have a split between spiritual and worldly power, and it is called Mother Church and Father State. So the elite figured out that it would be a lot more efficient to split those things and to get religion out of their lives, to get the spirituality out of their lives, to show the people that this state of consciousness will go into war and go into death and everything else, and then they will provide a solution on a spiritual basis, and Mother's Church and Father's State will eventually marry together, and they will have a son, and this son will be the Mashiach, or Christos, Christ. He will be the new Firaun. And this is what the elite wants. This is what the elite wants. You can go into into United Nations. They have an own spiritual goal. They have own spiritual goals, and they are all waiting for the one. And it is painfully obvious if you just look at how the world is. Yeah, I mentioned it's the church, and it is the Catholic Church. Catholic means universal. The universal church, and church is the house of God or the community of God. Of course, their God is somebody else, and if you don't believe in God, you'll develop an own. On that you can reason, but you can only reason to that point where there is. How do you say it? There is no God. So the elite are in their view are doing everything right, and they use reason, and they observed through hundreds of years that this new world order they want to establish, or the kingdom of Christ, is the only solution to maintain real peace. And they are right. They are right. But of course, they are wrong because God exists. So, in that moment where this gets established, somebody will go forth or will raise up and speak up and say that everything is wrong, this whole order is wrong, and the reason for that is because God exists and good and evil exists, and what you do is evil. And here are the examples. The example yeah, what about the, and then you can criticize them. And just look at the Pope. Just look at the Pope. Go to the Wikipedia page of the Pope. He is officially the representative of Christ. And he is called Holy Father, or Your Holiness. And he is the Pontifex Maximus. He is... It is the same title as in ancient Rome they had for the highest, just the highest spiritual and worldly leader. And it is equivalent. It is equivalent to the concept of a pharaoh. It is exactly the same. Just not. It is not Egypt. Now it's not in hieroglyphs, but now it is in Latin. Look at the $1 note, and you look at the seal on the back. You have the pyramid. The pyramid is the normal. This is the natural order of humanity, how it should be when God does not exist. And on top is Christ. He is the one who can observe everything beneath him, because above him there is nobody. And it is said in Latin, Novus Ordo Seclorum, Annui Quiceptis, and who is the only one who speaks Latin as their main language? It is the Vatican, or the Holy See. So when you dig into it, when you dig into Catholicism and who Christ really is, because Jesus Christ is nothing more, or it is the Son. It is the personification of Son. The New Testament is nothing more than an astrological allegory. I don't know if it's a right word. It is a metaphorically speaking, about how the sun is going through the 12 zodiacs in 1 year. So it's astrological. It's like Horus from Egypt. It's the same characteristics as Christ. And when we look at the eschatology of traditional Islam, they have very interesting points that we have to take into consideration, because they have like this conflict between Al-Mahdi, who is going to be the savior of the Muslims, and then we have the Dajjal, who apparently is the Mashiach of the Jews. And there is going to be this big conflict between Jews and Muslims, and it will spread worldwide. And by coincidence, something like that already got mentioned in 1871 in the letters between Albert Pike and Mazzini, who are 33-degree Freemasons, and they said that the Third World War is going to be a conflict between Jews and Muslims. And when we dig deeper into the eschatology of Sunni Islam, the end fight is going to be in Jerusalem, and the one who will solve that and who will bring peace to all mankind is Isa ibn Maryam. Of course, it is not the Quranic Isa ibn Maryam, because there is nothing in the Quran that states that he will come back. He died and he is dead and he will not come back. It's purely hadith based. Maybe they made that up just a couple of years ago, because like now in today's traditional Islam, it's just you have an a YouTube video from The Merciful Servant or The Prophet's Path, and you have like this very emotional nasheed music, and there is somebody shouting, "The Dajjal is coming! The Dajjal is coming! Hey, you have to be prepared for the Dajjal!" Yeah, it is crazy. Like, they are actually thinking that this is just around the corner. And you can look it up if you want to. But the main point is that this figure of Christ will eventually come again, and he will bring peace to all mankind. And then there's going to be the kingdom of God. Or in other terms, it is the New World Order. So, I can dig deeper in what is probably going to happen and when it is going to happen. But I don't know if it really matters, because I know that most people who are hearing my stuff don't understand it, and they think it's just another branch of their daily dopamine doses of entertainment. But I am in this space since I was 13, since I not 13 but 14, since I got my first iPhone in 2011, and I'm pretty sure that this is going to happen like that. I have a lot of evidence for that. And yeah, so this is also the way how they will get this one world religion under the one world leader. And then you can look at the Georgia Guidestones. We have to get rid of some billion people. And then everything is going to be well. Or is it? Because I think the New World Order has to get established. And everybody has to submit to this one leader. Yeah, they will. I mean, look at the Sunnis. Have you ever look at Mecca. Look at Masjid al-Haram from the traditionalists. And I was there. And they are all bowing down to this cube in the desert 5 times a day for over 1,000 years. This is true power. This is this bowing down physically. They are just preparing for that. And the Mahdi is going to say, well, the new Qibla is going to be at the third temple, who will get built after the Third World War, and there is going to be this figure of Christ on the throne, and the Qibla is going to be his throne. So everybody is going to bow down to him, and they have to do it a couple of times a day, maybe not 5 times, but maybe 3 times. Or whatever. And there are going to be people who will do it. The majority will do it. And there are going to be people who will not bow down. There are going to be people who will stand up when everybody is in sujood. And that is the warning. That is the final moment. This is the confrontation on the highest climax of mankind history, where somebody is not bowing down, and he will speak up, and he will go against the whole world. And it is going to be like a thing of impossibility for the elite. And they try to suppress that, and I will go to that topic a little bit further in the talk. But it is a direct confrontation. It is a physical eye-to-eye conversation and confrontation between truth and lie, between good and evil. This is how I imagine it. This is how when I read the Quran, I see it in my head popping up. This most epic moment in mankind history since Musa. And after they had their arguments, if you want to call it arguments, because there are no arguments, you have to believe in God, and if you don't do that, it's over. Those who are believers have the opportunity to stand up after that, to affiliate to that person. So there are also ones who will stand up and they will say, "Oh my people, oh mankind, you have to follow him. He is telling the truth. The day of judgment will come." And there are going to be just a few individuals, probably. But imagine it. Just imagine it. 500 million people are bowing down to the Antichrist, to Christus, to the Messiah who established the New World Order, and they are standing up, and they will say that, and everybody who is in sujud and hearing it, or maybe they are seeing it, I don't know. This is the point of decision. It is the point of decision, and it is like the whole world is watching that. It's like on the festival. There's a reason why Musa appointed the day of the festival for his performance in front of Pharaoh and his magicians, because everybody had the opportunity to decide. And there were people who decided after that. The magicians, for example, or the one who concealed his faith. And this is going to be that moment. And after that moment, things are settled. Like, that's it. And after that, we can expect the day of judgment to come collectively onto all people, because everybody had the chance, everybody had the opportunity to decide between, to witness, and to decide between good and evil. And this is how you warn. This is the final warning. But, of course, we know there is time until that point. So what should we do now? What is our mission for now? It is to establish a community who will live and who will thrive until this point. Who will grow and who will recruit all the believers from the whole world into one community, and who will live and learn and go through all that hardships. Because, like, the things we experience now as believers, or we have experienced now, this is nothing. This is nothing. And I'm tired of complaining and hearing this nonsense. Because we have to be the strongest. And the challenges, they are not getting, they will not cease. Things will change very quickly, and in a way we cannot imagine. And I'm saying that as a 22 years old. But the things I have experienced in my life, they are not for a 22 years old, half Polish, half Egyptian guy in Germany. So I expect more, and I want more. I want more challenges. I want more hardship. I want to fight. This is what we will eventually have to do. We have to thrive with our own lives. And we will probably get killed. Maybe not. Who cares? We have to accept that what God gives us, and we have to make the best out of it. And it is, I don't know. yeah, so maybe I'm just a little bit of overreacting, but I, I I held that back for a long time. All those, if you want to call it emotions, but there are a lot of more things I would like to talk about. We have half an hour, and I always gave those little breadcrumbs, so you can do your own research. You can do your own research. I have made my findings and everything else. Maybe I already have the date of the time when he arrives. We will see. But yeah, so this is my point. My point is that the new world order has to be established, and then we have the new Firaun, and this is the one who we have to warn, who we have to confront. And yeah, so I think that's it. Was a very emotional talk, and I have to say that I never cut, or I do cut sometimes, but this is all freestyle. I don't have a sheet where I'm looking from, and I also just click on recording and then I upload it, and that's it. So just saying that. But I hope you learned something useful, and I might read some of your comments if they are constructive. And that's it for today's talk. I hope you're doing well, and that's it. Peace.